This is what I look like when I wear a mask in public. So if you ever see me walking down somewhere and like, hey, isn't that guy on YouTube? I'm not that big of a deal. I'm just trying to have a sense of humor. But honestly, this is what I look like when I wear a mask. Now, one thing can be agreed on. This mask is a physical improvement on me. I mean, just I'm not as ugly with this mask on. Just it actually enhances my looks. How are you today? I Let me take this damn thing off. Give me a second. There's no law against wearing it, making you wearing it against your will inside of your house. Yet, yet. How are you? I've been gone for a couple of days. I worked graveyard shift, and I had plenty of time, having 2 nights in a row off to do a video. Yet I was tired. I pretty much slept on and off for the last few days. I was just extra tired, and so that's why you haven't heard from me lately. I'm going to try not to make that too much of a practice. Let's talk about the mask. Now, I am not a mask hole, and a mask hole could be a pro mask wearing zealot or somebody who is a zealot in the opposite way of refusing to wear a mask under any circumstances. I'm pretty damn middle of the road. Um, we have an epidemic, a pandemic rather, and that's more like a the. Um, and we've been putting up with it for almost a year now. And pretty soon, if I think that maybe sometime, I am fairly optimistic. Sometime in the next year, between now and the next year, we'll get this pandemic under control. And I mean, and there are things that I would do, some common sense measures from our government, but they're not listening to people like me or my elected counterparts in Congress. They're not listening to them. But with the COVID-19, we do have some vaccines coming along soon. Two of them from the United States, one of them from Great Britain, and that's a good. And as I said before, I may not take it right away, not because I am an anti-vaxxer conspiracy nut. I'm not, but I'm just want to see how other people, if they're willing to take it. And there's going to be more than mm, your fair share of people wanting to pump that thing in your arm right away, and I don't blame them. So they're going to do that, and let's see if there's any side effects. If they're growing a third arm or something like that, you might want to think about not taking it. I mean, I'm kind of being silly, but what I'm saying, if there's no seemingly any side effects within the first year of it being available to the masses, I will feel pretty damn confident about taking it. And so, not always gloomy in the world. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Even with this pandemic that we have right now, it's not like the worst thing that we've ever encountered. I mean, try living in the Middle Ages during the time of the bubonic plague. Millions perished their lives during the bubonic plague, and guess what? Their population was much smaller back then, and so they had bigger death tolls than we had here in the United States. So, and now we even say argue around the world. This is some serious shit that we have right now that we're contending with. But at the same time, well, I mean, it's one of those things that if you practice a lot of common sense, um, I'm talking about you, the power of the individual to practice common sense. And no, I'm not turning libertarian on y'all. Um, you know, us, each individual's doing our part. We can eliminate or seriously reduce the number of people having this virus. Preventive measures. A lot of it is a little on the top down, a little bit heavy-handed governmental side. Dictates, edicts from the government. I will argue that there's quite a number that's I would consider a necessary evil. Some of it I think goes a little overboard. Earlier this year, when they shut down large portions of our service sector industries, um, it was really inconvenient as hell. But at the same time, this was something new, and looking back in retrospect, I would say and argue maybe 2 3 months it was a necessary evil. But as everything, as we started to know what to do, how to combat it, and I, you know, doing what we can together, we can kind of have life going on as normal without you know too much um being negative consequences. um Mistakes that were being made in the United States, the biggest mistake is, if there was ever a time we needed universal health care, and I would have been willing to jumpstart Obamacare, even though it was far less than what I hoped for. um I would say, hey, jumpstart Obamacare, but be pretty damn aggressive and generous about with Medicare and Medicaid expansion too. Make a public option very strong and viable for people. Now, I'm being very pragmatic saying this because I honestly, when it comes right down to it, I am pretty much a socialized medicine zealot, and Obamacare doesn't cut it for me. I want a full blown national health service like they have in Great Britain, or I will settle for the modest Canadian style Medicare for all. We have a pandemic, and our stupid goddamn politicians are too fucking sorry to go and do what normal countries around the world have been doing for decades, and that is to provide basic medical care for the whole population. Or even right wing parties are totally cool with that in these other countries. And we can't even get fucking Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden and Chuck Schumer to say, hey, Medicare for all, or at least some kind of a strong public option. Ridiculous. But speaking of which, we had an election. And let's put something to rest. Joe Biden won this election. I am not fond of Joe Biden. I don't care for Joe Biden. He was not my first choice. He was not my 14th choice in the fucking Democratic primaries last year. He was so far down the polls. I mean, one of the few people I probably liked less than Joe Biden in the Democratic primaries was John Delaney of Maryland, who I would have argued was the worst of all the candidates running last year. Biden won. It's no possible. Yeah, Biden's people cheated. Donald Trump's people cheated. They fucking cheated against each other. Okay? When you have two corrupt political parties cheating against each other, one of the corrupt political parties is going to be more clever than the other. So Republicans, if you're going to be mad at your fellow corrupt Republicans for not doing enough to tip the election over to Trump, remember, it all comes down to which corrupt political party is more clever about swinging the election one way or the other. So in that sense, I'm not going to sit there and call Biden evil for winning. Just like Donald Trump in 2016, I did not suffer from the Trump derangement syndrome. I wanted him to do well, like I want any Democrat or Republican to do well. The problem is that when any Democrat or any Republican is sworn in, they do the opposite of well. And Biden is no exception. I hope he does well. I just have an uneasy feeling that I'm going to hate him the way I hate Trump and hate Obama and Bush and Bill Clinton and the first Bush and Reagan and pretty much every president during my lifetime. Let's go back down to the state of North Carolina where I live. Roy Cooper. He is our current governor. He just got reelected. I confess, I voted for Roy Cooper in 2020. I reluctantly voted for Roy Cooper. The reason I voted for Roy Cooper is I voted Libertarian in the year 2016 because I thought Roy Cooper was too much of a corporate centrist. And voting for Pat McCrory is a non-starter for me. Pat McCrory, it was one of the worst governors this state has ever had. And not just a sorry governor, too corporatist, too much of a Southern businessman for my take. He was also a thin-skinned son of a bitch because he was at a hotel restaurant in Charlotte, and a chef may whisper some negative remarks, and he threw a tizzy fit and had that chef fired. All I can say about Pat McCrory is what a fucking piece of shit that he is. And I was glad he got defeated. My rationale for voting for Roy Cooper was I was sorry I wasn't able to play a role in having Pat McCrory defeated. So I voted for Roy Cooper in the year 2020 as an expression of gratitude for him defeating Pat McCrory in the year 2016. A little side note about Pat McCrory. He ran for governor in 2008 and 2012. And on WRL Channel 5, he was doing a little commentary about North Carolina. And it was something to the effect of, lower taxes, we lower wages, and we kept the unions out of the state. Okay, you're bragging about lowering the wages of workers in North Carolina, and you're bragging about keeping the unions out of North Carolina. Now, taxes, I'm obviously not on Pat McCrory's side, but, that's benign enough. But you're bragging about keeping unions out of North Carolina, and you're bragging about lowering wages of workers. And any politician who's happy about unions being gutted, and for any governor or any politicians that's happy about unions being gutted and wages being lower, those are the kind of people I want to keep away from any form of governance by exercising my democratic right to vote against their sorry asses. So, as I said, I'm sorry that I didn't vote for for Roy Cooper in 2016. But I'm beginning to be sorry that I voted for Roy Cooper in 2020. Here's the thing. I need to keep up with state and local politics a little more than I do. I tend to go into national politics a little too much. I tend to go into international politics a little too much. And that's just where my interest lies. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't care about what happens in North Carolina, because there are things in North Carolina that I would like to see happen here. I mean, I would like to see the state right to work laws repealed, or if we got to have right to work laws, to have the Employee Free Choice Act to make it easier for unions to organize, and it will actually weaken the right to work laws or undermine it, which is what I want to do: undermine it, if not get rid of it. But anyway, I'm hearing about Thanksgiving gatherings being smaller this year. I know that some states are reducing the size of how many people can meet together for Thanksgiving, and I understand they're doing that here too. Um, so mask guidelines, and this is where I get my dandruff up, and this is where my inner libertarianism kicks in. Many people said I'm a closet libertarian. Um, well, when it comes to mask, I think if you don't wear a mask, you're a damn fool. I wear a mask. I mean, there are times I don't wear a mask where I think it's unnecessary. If I'm, as I said, if I'm not at the gym and I'm walking or jogging and there's nobody around me, you think I'm gonna go and wear a mask? I mean, but I understand. You go into a restaurant, you go into your workplace, you go into wherever you go, and you got to wear a mask. You're protecting yourself from other people, and you're protecting other people from yourself, just in case you've gotten it. All that's understood, and I'm really reasonable. I consider myself a fair guy. I'm reasonable and middle of the road on the mask issue. But I went to the gym today, and I just finished working out, and apparently I didn't even notice, but 2000, excuse me, 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon goes into effect that when you're working out, you got to wear your mask while you're working out. Um, you got to wear your mask. And the way it is that and I'm going to mention a company I go to, Planet Fitness. I'm a Planet Fitness member, and I'm going to say good things about Planet Fitness. Planet Fitness saved my life. I lost 76 pounds at Planet Fitness back in 2014. I started going to Planet Fitness, and I've lost a lot of weight. And I started to slim down, and some of the weight came back, largely due to largely largely due to work schedule situations, influx from working second shift to working third shift all the time. 2.5 years ago. I'm not going to say shutting down the gyms made me gain any weight. I actually did not gain too much weight with the shutdowns of the gyms, but I was actually losing some weight prior to the shutdowns. And the thing about it is, I'm glad that the gyms are open again. I think that there was one place that did need to close down were the gyms, because you're trying to improve yourself. I mean, and just think of how many people had health problems. Thankfully, I don't have my ticker's fine. I don't have any cholesterol problems. I don't have any diabetes. The only thing I have is high blood pressure, and I'm ugly as shit. Which is why when I wear a mask, as I said earlier, it's a physical improvement on me. But anyway, I am meandering as I normally do, and I got to stop that shit. Um, apparently, you got to start wearing a mask while you're working out. Now, I understand the guidelines. You walk in with a mask, and then you go into your equipment with your mask on. You can take off your mask while you're working out. Everybody's socially distanced, and there's not really that many people in a gym these days, because there's a lot of people that they're just not taking any unnecessary chances, and what they deem as unnecessary chances. I'm gonna tell you, it's safe to go to the gym and work out without a mask. But now, starting tomorrow, we're going to have to wear a mask while we're working out. And this was an executive order by the governor. The Governor Roy Cooper, please don't make me regret voting for you. And just a word of advice to the Democrats that like the thing that gets on my nerves the most about the Democrats, giving us the nanny state without the actual nanny. Um, And that's what it comes down to. It seems like Democrats know how to, they're scared to overreach where they should be overreaching, but then they get hyper aggressive about overreaching where they don't need to overreach. And what it does, it ends up pissing people off. And then Republicans end up making a comeback. I have said this before. It looks like that there's going to be a reduced majority in the U.S. House for the Democrats of 7 seats. And I'm hearing people saying, well, it's because, people are scared of AOC and they're scared of the squad and they're scared of Bernie Sanders. No, they're not. The reason why the Democrats have actually lost seats in the House is because they're corporate Democrats. They don't stand for anything. They're basically diet Republicans, and I don't blame the voters. They're going to vote for the real thing. They're going to vote for the real McCoy. And yeah, pretty much the Republican light, diet Republicans. Now, I'm not, I don't want to sound like that I'm some partisan hack. I mean, I'll be the first to tell anybody both parties are garbage. The Republican Party's garbage. The Democratic Party's garbage. There are people in the two-party systems that I do respect. I mean, obviously, when it comes to the Democrats, I identify with the squad. I identify with Bernie Sanders, obviously, even though he's not a Democrat. I identify with the left wing of the Democratic Party. What Howard Dean used to call years ago, the Democratic wing of the Democratic Party. Even though I don't vote Republicans, I admire those who are Republicans, that they are libertarian and tend to have a non-interventionist streak in them when it comes to foreign policy. Like former Congressman Ron Paul, when he was a member of Congress in Texas, and Kentucky U.S. Senator Rand Paul. I respect them. I hate their economic platforms, and there's even some social issues where they're a little too far right for me. But they both are very non-interventionist, and they're kind of for liberty where it counts, like like the drug war. I mean, they realize the bullshit of the drug war. They realize the bullshit of the national security state that undermines our domestic civil liberties. They understand these things, and they understand the problems with the military-industrial complex. So, let me put it this way. I could look at someone like Ted Cruz and realize there's 99.9999% of the time I can just hang it up about there's anything where I can see eye to eye with this man. At least with Rand Paul, there are some plausible issues here and there. So, and same thing with the Democrats. I mean, I obviously identify with the squad, strongly with the squad and everything, but I can't identify with Nancy Pelosi, or Hillary Clinton, or Joe Biden, or Barack Obama, or Chuck Schumer, or the corporate Democrats that was created, where their organizational lineage goes back to the Democratic Leadership Council in the 1980s and 1990s, that pretty much turned the Democratic Party away from what tiny microcosm of social democracy that they were advocating, where it was almost a Labor Party, not quite a Labor Party, but it was kind of within striking distance of being a Labor Party, and then they moved away from it, and they moved to an ideological entity that's probably mildly to the right of the British Conservative Party as we know it today. Back to what I'm saying, these mask mandates right now is another example of giving us the nanny state without the actual nanny. And they don't get aggressive on things like the UBI that we need, a UBI. Of course, that's a federal issue, not a state issue. But there's things that the state governments can do. Like put a moratorium on evictions, make it against the law to evict anybody during the winter months, because there's a lot of people that can't pay their rents. Things like freezing medical debt. If we can't have Medicare for all, we can't have a temporary Medicare for all. We can't even have Obamacare with a strong public option. You can at least put a freeze on medical bills right now. I would say go as far as say terminate all those medical bills. I got some medical bills too. It would help me out, but no, that they don't do that. They want to be busybodies and piss people off. And what's going to happen? You want to see the Republicans increase their seats in 2 years in the North Carolina House and North Carolina Senate. They're going to increase their seats, and nationally, you're going to see governors, Republican gubernatorial victories, and you're going to see Republican House seats, tip over into their favor, and the Democrats are going to lose what small majority that they have, and that the Republicans will more than likely expand seats in the U.S. Senate. And my message to the Democrats is stop this crap of giving us the nanny state without the actual nanny. Fight for the nanny state with the actual nanny. You might actually get some Republicans on your side. Think about it. Think about it. Social democracy is a winning issue. And I don't know why our politicians don't get it. But let me get back to the mask again. I reject people like Governor DeSantis of Florida who wants to open everything up. You're going to see an influx of this COVID shit down there in Florida. In California, Governor Gavin Newsom, he's going to go and close everything up. That man's going to turn California, which is very, very blue. He might actually be responsible for California kind of turning red, or at least into a purple state. And if that happens, the Democrats are going to start having a tough time winning the White House, because as long as California remains with the Democrats, that's to them what Texas is to the Republicans. So it's just a little food for thought, everyone. So, I reject opening everything up. I reject closing everything down. And this is where I am a bland centrist and want a common sense center practical approach to doing this. We can combat COVID and do it in a way that it doesn't infringe on people's individual rights and is effective in fighting it, and where it doesn't have to be a partisan on either side. It's just my take on it. If you like what you heard, press like and comment. If you were triggered, comment anyway. Feel free to share the content on this channel. As a First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you that if you're passionate about something and you have a platform, utilize it. If you're passionate about something and you don't have a platform, develop a platform, utilize it. Because we're all the muckrakers of our time. And most importantly, hit that subscribe button. And until next time, I am American Social Peace and Bernie Sanders for president, year 2024.